Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
All right, welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. Dave Snowberger here, joining the studio today, as always, with Marshall Tucker, Alicia Hooper, and we have a special guest, Steve Fohl.
Hey,
hi, everybody.
All right, let's jump right into it today, since you're looking at me over here like I need to keep my face to the mic. All right, I can do that. All right, so Steve Fohl is our special guest. This guy is fantastic. I've known Steve for about, 5-6 years now, coming on that, and he's been a tremendous help in my career. He's a mentor to me and to my business, and he's what kind of kicked it off for me to help me grow and get to the position, or to get where I am today, that helps out the people around me. So I've taken his lead on a lot of things, so I thought it was fitting to have him in as our guest to the podcast today. So, Steve, welcome.
Dave, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you, Marshall, and Alicia and the team. And I'm honored. I'm honored to have a chance to share the knowledge and things that I've learned through almost 30 years of real estate sales.
Cool. I appreciate it. So, okay, so let's tell everybody what are your credentials, Steve. We know that you were, you used to be in California. You moved to Austin. If I had to say, hey, tell me about Steve, that's what I'd say. Oh, he used to be in California, now he's a Texan.
Well, it's a long story that I will make brief. I dropped out of college to get into real estate when I was 19 years old. My brother ran Century 21 Adobe Realty, the number 5 Century 21 office out of 5,600 in the world. And so I went and grabbed my real estate license and started selling when I lived at home in my bedroom when I was 19 years old. And in 1990, I was their National Rookie of the Year. And my career just kept going on an upward trend. But a lot of that was due to my brother Les, who's one of the top agents in the United States, took me under his wing and taught me everything that he knew, and had good ends with guys like, stalwarts of the industry like Mike Ferry, Floyd Wickman, the Sweat Hogs, Tommy Hopkins. I can remember when Mike Ferry's sons, who are the same age as me, were little boys practically. And so it was great to be able to sit at the tables at seminars with those guys and have Mike Ferry say things like, "Steve, did you know only a handful of people are going to buy or sell a home today? Do you know how to find them? Do you have systems in place? Do you know what to say when you find them?" And you're thinking, I just want to eat this great breakfast. No, that's why I'm here at your seminar, Mike.
I love it. This is why this whole episode is going to be a home run. Just gold. So that was one thing that impressed me back then, was that it wasn't that you were the typical person that walked in the office when I first met you and name dropped. You shared real life experiences, and the people you shared those experiences with just happen to be giants in this business. And so I knew when you were dropping some names, and I was researching real estate, like how to do this, how to say this, like what the hell are scripts, like what is all this stuff. And I'm coming up with these names like Mike Ferry, and at the time I don't think I've tripped over Tom Ferry yet, but there are a few other ones that you mentioned out there that you had personal experiences with. So I certainly appreciated that, and that really opened up my ears every time you talked. I just wanted to be a little bit closer to your office so I could take in what you were saying. So I certainly appreciate that. Let's talk about your career real quick. We know that you've had, over the 27 years that you were an agent, you've had a pretty fulfilled career. Tell me how you really got started. Most of our audience, I would say, is in that under 2-year mark, might be struggling a little bit. And so what I created this show for, sorry, Goose. What we created this show for was to really speak to those agents that might be struggling and give them tips and tricks and actionable items that they can put into play to help their career out, so they can make it past that 2-year hump we all hear about. So what specifically did you do? I know that your brother was a giant. He showed you what to do, and I don't think he showed you. He just kind of kicked your ass into a direction and said, do this and you'll be successful.
That's absolutely right. I'll tell you, it was, for me, I closed over 1,600 deals in my 27-year real estate career. But I'll tell you, the first 2 years were the most formative. And when I got my license, I can still remember walking into the office that day, all proud as a peacock. I'm no longer the weed puller out in the parking lot. I actually belong here. I'm part of this group. And my brother put a stop to that almost immediately. It was like, and where I walked in, and we had the hottest receptionist. Her name was Tamara Dixon. I can still remember that. And so my brother says to Tamara, this is my brother Steve, and she says, I know your brother Steve, Les. And he said, Steve, this is Tamara. And I was like, I know Tamara. Yeah. I'm Steve. And so my brother goes on to tell her, Steve got his real estate license. Congratulations, Steve. But Steve doesn't get a key to the office and cannot go past this front desk until he knocks these 500 doors from the Winton Grove, a neighborhood in Hayward, California, until he knocks these 500 doors and comes back with notations and records and phone numbers and everything. We didn't have things in that day that spit off. We just had a tax thing that was one line, so at least you knew their name. And so when he finishes that, he can have a key to the office. So I came back 3 days later and had knocked all 500 doors and had my notes for those that were home. And a funny thing happened, the earthquake. I was licensed September 11th when it was just another day of 1989. In October, the earthquake came. You remember the one that rocked the Bay Area World Series? Yeah. So I get a call the very next day because I'd already gone through the whole neighborhood saying, we're out of here. Come and list our house. Just come and you tell us what it's worth and come and list it. So I got my first listing 1 month into the business and then listened to my brother coach me and say, now what you do is you go through the whole neighborhood with a just listed flyer. And then when it sells, you go through the neighborhood with a just sold flyer. He called it whore in the listing. Can we say that on a podcast?
Sure, why not?
Okay, perfect. So he said, man, you make sure that you milk that thing for all that it's worth because Steve, every single listing should be worth 3 sales. It's the first time I'd ever heard that in my life. Today, I think we've all heard it. Mm-hmm. You should sell the listing that you took. You should get a buyer call off of the sign and advertising that you sell another house because we all know they don't buy the one that they call on. Mm-hmm. You should probably get another listing as a result if you're working it correctly in your farm area. So that's a great segue into when you talk about new agents in the business today, here's the problem. Real estate school, like high school, doesn't teach you anything that you need to really operate out in the world.
Agreed.
That's right.
And so when you come out of real estate school, the problem is it's like the end of the movie Castaway where you're looking in all the different directions going, I'm not sure where to go from here. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest problems I think that new agents, and by new, I'm going to say 2 years or less face because we all know what the failure rate is there. So you look at the new agent that's coming out and they're not told things like, one of the very first things that my brother did after I knocked those doors was, great, this weekend you're going to TSI time planning school. And I was like, what? No, I'm not. I'm holding open house and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And he was like, come again? And I was like, I'm going to TSI time planning school. What is that? So I go to the time planning school and it's a 2-day course and it was unbelievable. And it teaches you how to plan your day effectively and control your time effectively. And that, to me, is one of the biggest things. We used to laugh, you and I, at the other real estate office, blank realtors. Yeah. And we would talk about how agents, their whole day was come on in and shoot the breeze for a little bit. And, oh, my appointment didn't show up, so I'm going to go into Dave's office and bug Dave for a while.
Time wasters.
Oh, my God. And then a 2-hour lunch and come back and move papers from the left side of the desk to the right and call that a work day. Ooh, and you go, busy. And the problem is that nobody ever taught them how to plan a day, how to make a skeleton, which is just, as you know, a Sunday through Saturday, kind of a template of what you're going to do. And we all know things creep into life, right? We know you're not going to be able to hold fast and firm to a 7-day plan. But one thing that a skeleton does allow you to do is, number one, allows you to plan time off. Because if you think you're going to come in and work 7 days a week, 80 to 100 hours, I'll see you out of this industry in less than a year. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have time to yourself. But the learning to plan and prioritize A, B, C, learning to move things forward, learning to log things right when you get them. I mean, how many times do you hold an open house and then later on you're cleaning your desk and you do the, oh my God, that was the sign-in sheet from 2 years ago. And if you call those people, I'll bet all of them have bought a house.
Right.
And so time planning, geographical farming, and door knocking, those would be the 2 things that any agent that was new to the business, I would take right under my wing and say, we're going to pick an area, preferably high turnover, of course, so that you have more homes to sell. We are going to get your farm books assembled, which are nothing more than $5 booklets, address booklets that you buy at Office Max, and print the labels for the farm in the order you're going to walk it, which we can get into a little bit more later if we have the time. And That way, when you're going to doors and you're knocking, I'm not just, hi, it's real estate. It's knock, knock, knock. Hi, Dave? Yeah. Hey, Dave, it's Steve Fohl, the real estate broker here in the
I've been
neighborhood.
door knocking with Steve before, and it's just like magic. Just after a few minutes, it's like everybody knows. He knows everyone's name on the block. People are coming outside giving us bottles of water.
Nice.
And it's just crazy.
It's one of the craziest experiences I've ever been with. I was like, I'm not going to do this whole door knocking thing. This just seems goofy.
Right.
And then, we teach as a class. I'm like, God, he really gets into it. It's like, there's no way he acts like this when we go out. And boom, we go knock on doors. And he's the exact same way, and it works. Like he I would take it and go try to make it myself. Let's go do it the Dave Snowberger way, and I'm going to change it to be more like me.
Yeah.
Complete failure.
Right.
Going like Steve, home run after home run. I mean, people pulling up, hey, Steve, and it's not that he does that same block all the time and says, hey, guys, I'm coming around this time.
Right,
Make me look good. No,
Right.
it's just him being himself, and that's what I love. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no,
let's hear the
that's
script.
you guys interject absolutely.
Yeah.
A script where it is, if it's Dave and Alicia and you open the door, I'm going to guess you're not Dave, so I'll take my chances on the 50-50 that you're Alicia. Being able to say your name, it makes a huge difference. We already know the icebreaker that makes, and so then going on to be able to give them a little gift, a 23-cent notepad, CaptainNotepad.com. There's the gratuitous cheap plug for Captain Notepad. And then being able to give them a flyer that is a just listed or a just sold from the neighborhood, even if it isn't yours, brand new agents. You can take, any agent in your office would be happy to let you substitute your face and contact information on their flyer, which would then allow you to go out and door knock as if it were yours. Because when you say, we just sold another one here in the neighborhood, look at the subtle difference. What difference does it make if you say I or we? We just sold another one here. They're going to hear you just sold another one there. So you've left them with a gift. You've left them with a notepad. You've said their name. When you build on that going forward, that's where, to answer your question, taking the long route, that's where I built my success. It wasn't just bottles of water and things in my neighborhood in California. They'd invite you in for dinner. They would send you Christmas cards and things of that nature, because as the word farming indicates, like a farm, you're really taking care of your seeds. You guys probably don't know this. Some of the most successful farmers, they talk to the stuff that they plant. They while they're out there driving in the combines and stuff, they're talking to their crops and fields. That's because they love them, and you have to love it. And if you invest the love and the care into it, man, pretty soon you're saying to people, I would mark down distinctive features of the outside of the properties. I got so far into the colors of the houses, et cetera, so that one day, Dave, you call me and you say, I've talked to you before. You probably don't remember me, but I look in my farm book, and Dave, you had that beautiful mosaic bird bath out in front. So I noted that in my farm book. And when I say to you, of course I remember you. Dave, didn't you have that gorgeous mosaic bird bath out in front? Almost every time I ever turned around, birds were enjoying themselves, and I just always thought that was such a great feature out in front of your house. You're on the other end of the phone going, we called the right guy. Oh my God, he remembers the bird bath. So I think that doing things like that over time, noting their kids' names, their pets' names, and things of that nature, it makes such an enormous difference. They really feel like they know you. And when I left California, I know I've told you this story before, but to share it with everyone, I sold my farm books to my brother for $75,000. And so you're probably all going, oh my God, what an idiot your brother is. Yeah, some idiot. He paid me $3,000 a month for 25 months. And in 6 months, he had made all of his money back plus profit. Mm-hmm. So that the information's invaluable.
Right. Interesting.
Very nice. Very nice. That was the thing. A lot of those tips right there, I think we've already had an episode or two that we talked about farming and brought farming up. And a lot of the things that you just touched on, now it sounds like, I'd be guilty of plagiarism, that I just stole your stuff. And it's like, no, that's what Steve does. He's a real estate coach. And so he's coached me this way into those thoughts. So I brought up the bird baths, the kids, the pets, and those when you're writing them down. Because I don't geofarm. However, I was saying I knew a lot about it. We just put this episode out last week or so. So I knew a lot about it, and everything I know about it is from you. And so I appreciate that. And by saying it now, it's like you forget. right? You forget where you learn these things and you put into action, and you've coached other people now on this stuff, and now it all just came full circle. Like, wow, that was Steve that taught me all that stuff. So that was a cool little moment for me.
Yeah.
So sorry, I digress.
Oh,
But,
I love it. Well, as you know, the last 4 years I've spent running a title company, and when I say running it, man, I wasn't there for the day-to-day business of the title insurance part. I can barely explain to you what the schedule of title insurance is. But what I did do was I took almost 200 agents from all different agencies out door knocking, and some 30-something of those agents today, which is a high percentage, believe it or not, that actually continued to do it, are thriving with geographical farming. And so it is a way to have a mainstay in the business. I always tell people this: you have two choices as a realtor. You can decide that every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to dress relatively nice. I would wear Dockers and a polo and comfortable shoes and go out and knock my doors and follow up with people and have normal buyer and seller appointments like every agent does. Or you can not do geographical farming, and you can put on your hard hat like a coal miner and grab your pickaxe and shovel, knowing that you are going to be spending your whole real estate career going out and farming the cold, hard ground that is brand new business, trying to build that like and trust. You know, at an open house, I always tell agents, you only have a small window, maybe a minute or two, to build that like me, trust me. By farming, I've had hundreds, not 800, hundreds of calls where they have called me and said, just come list us. As a matter of fact, it happens so often. CLM. That's what my brother and I have called it for decades, is come list me. It was you come and you tell us the price. We trust you. We know you know the area here, and that you defend. I always love that you defend our values. And you go, that's when you know you're in good with the neighborhood. And of course, that came with promotions, pumpkin. Everybody got a full-size pumpkin on Halloween. 4th of July flags were always my favorite because we did them at 4 in the morning on the 4th. So when people who were off that day, because just about everybody's off for Independence Day, they come out, they get their newspaper, they look down the street, they see those flags blowing in the wind, and of course you've got your little rider on that you stuck the flag through, so they ultimately see your name and have your phone number and courtesy of your real estate professional. And it's just fantastic to get those phone numbers, those phone messages like, Steve, this is Jim Smith, and I'm a veteran, and I just wanted to say that when I came out today and saw those flags blowing, and it's like, man, you make here's what I tell agents. Here's what I told a guy today thinking about becoming a real estate agent at my gym. He said, what makes you different? I feel like the market is saturated with real estate agents. And you go, well, first of all, there's 1 million people here and there's 16,000 agents. Do the math there.
Right.
If you're willing to work hard at all, you can cut off 8,000 of those agents right off the bat.
80-20 for us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so if you are willing to come in and put in the work, automatically that makes you different from most other agents. But if you will do the farming, you make an indelible imprint on people's soul, where I've had people say to me at the listing table, once all the paperwork is signed, of course, and I've got it back safely in my folder so they can't take it back. Steve, we just wanted to tell you that we've got family in the real estate business. Oh, really? Where? Here? Well, wait a minute. Can I ask why you listed the home with me when you have a brother-in-law in the real estate business? Oh, you came by with those ice cream bars during the summertime. Yeah, our kids will never ever forget that. When you signed the notepad and gave it, and our kid brought it in the house and had the ice cream bar and the notepad, and we're thinking, where did you get the money for this? No, they were free. Wait, what? And there he is right there in the ice cream truck, Dad, courtesy of Steve Fohl, your neighborhood real estate specialist. And you go, it makes an indelible imprint on people's soul. So a great stock answer for all of you guys going forward is, what makes you different? It's more than real estate sales to me. I'm here to make an indelible imprint on your families, on your entire family, not just the household family. I mean, I'm here to get into all of your spheres. I'm not telling them that, of course, but that's what I'm there to do. It's almost insidious, my brother and I would say. It's almost insidious.
Right. So I enjoyed the one story you told me a couple times, but the tomato plants, how, you would walk around and deliver the tomato plants, but there were certain homes that he never met the people that lived there. You would leave a tomato plant, then you would go back the next year when it was time to deal out the tomato plants again, and that same tomato plant would still be on the porch the one you delivered from the year prior. And sometimes there was 2 or 3 years of tomato plants that were just dead on the porch. But the people just never used their front doors, I guess.
Right.
But for every story like that,
Yeah.
I can tell you that I would have people come into the office. Sometimes I'd be there because back in the day, you didn't work remotely. You worked from the real estate office. Home
Right.
offices weren't even a thing.
Right.
And so people would come in. I'd get a message over the intercom from Tamara saying, Steve Fohl, please come to the front. And I'd come to the front, and it would be somebody from my farm area with bags of tomatoes. And they would just say, man it
take
has
these.
taken over our yard. It's crazy. So here, please take some of these. And you'd have tomatoes coming out your ears. But man, it was so meaningful that they took the time to come by and stop. And again, circling back to that indelible impression thing, you go, that's when maybe they'll never sell. But if they do, 100% without question, I'm getting that listing.
Very nice. Hey, let's switch gears here a little bit. Let's jump over to those years you spent at in a brokerage here in Austin where you're the sales manager, and you broke a record. It looks like year after year you were able to bring agents in and put them into action, to where I'd say that most brokers these days are looking at agents, they're recruiting, they're throwing out some promises, and we've got training, we've got this, we've got that, then they throw you against the wall and see if you stick. And if you have any type of work ethic, that's where the 86% pops in. Most of those people jump out of the business rather quickly. However, it seems like you were able to really help out the attrition rate at that certain brokerage and help out. What'd you do different than most sales managers would do?
I think that the big thing was when it was presented to me how important recruiting to the company was. The company had 70-something agents, and at the time that I departed, we had 168 agents, and that was in just shy of 4 years doing the job. So it was... when the agents would come in, first of all, it was meeting with the agents at whatever time worked best for them. God, that made such a huge difference to the agents, who would tell you how rigid other companies' schedules were for interviewing. But once they came in the door and committed and would hang their license at the brokerage, I would take them by the hand and I would, you had attended some of the classes where it was, today we're going to talk about planning. Today we're going to talk about accountability. As a matter of fact, we're going to start an accountability group.
Yeah.
And things that tonight we're going to call we're going to get some pizzas and some beer and some soft drinks, and we'll save the beer for when we're done, but we'll eat the pizza and the soft drinks when we take a break. And we're going to call all of our service providers, and we're going to let them know that it's great that I was able to send you 100 deals to your roofing company, Marshall. But what I'm expecting here in the next 12 months is 2 referrals from you. 2 referrals. They can be buyers or sellers. It could even be somebody leasing. I just want to know that you're thinking of me also and reciprocating back. It's if we're going to call this a team, the team can't just be me sending you business. I expect business back from you. So teaching the agents things to think outside of the box like that, I think was big. When we talk about things like door knocking, to me, Dave, I feel like there are 7 forms of prospecting, and I explain it to people that if you look at those like languages, the good news is you don't need to be fluent in all 7 languages when you think of things like geographical farming and door knocking, mailing, for sale by owners and expireds, cold calling, open house, things of that nature. If you will just become an expert in 2 or 3 of those things, if you will just learn, English, if you will just learn Spanish and German, you can write your own ticket. It's the same way in real estate. If you will learn a couple of things and stop doing the, something shiny, something new, I'm going to switch to that CRM. I'm going to switch to that CRM. I'm going to switch to this. I'm going to try this. I tried open house and it didn't work. How many did you do? 1?
Right,
oh, really?
right,
God,
right.
It's amazing you can walk. What happened when you fell the first time? How did you ever get the guts to try that again?
Right.
And so it's important that they know that, man, there are 7 things that you can expound on and become an expert in. And if you'll take 2 or 3 of those and really become an expert in them, you're going to be able to write your own ticket or live very comfortably with a career in real
I'm going to
estate.
call this episode the validation episode, because everything that you're saying is what I preach to my team constantly, is that there's 7 forms of lead generation. I run through them. I even text you the other day just to make sure that I had them all, right? And am I missing anything? And so then we need to find the 3 that we're best at and start executing on those at a high level. Everything we have to do at a high level. You can't just do it half-ass, right? And so what's high level? And so, what can you do? What are you comfortable doing? And so I get it that people don't like phone calls. I get that people don't want to sit there and make a bunch of phone calls. However, what we've discovered in this business, and there's so many people that have paved this road before us, is that anything that you deem uncomfortable, that's where the paycheck is.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
And so you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to step outside of that comfort zone and do the things that you don't want to do when you don't want to do them
Grit.
at a high level, and have some grit, have some backbone, and just say, you know what, this sucks, but if I want what I want, if I want to achieve my why, whatever you identify that with, if you want to buy a nice big house, if you want to save $1 million, if you want to make $1 million, whatever that is, that's going to get you there.
That's right.
And so I appreciate the validation there when you say things like that, especially around some of the folks in this room, because they're directly on my team. And so when I preach this stuff, you just validated it for me. I'll leave it at that.
I love it. Well, Jerry Rice, arguably the greatest wide receiver, in my opinion, the greatest wide receiver. It's not even close that
Would
ever
you know
played the
him
game
personally?
of football. I've met Jerry Rice a couple of different times, had a chance to talk with him at length. And when he says, well, in that little soft voice that you can't believe comes from an NFL Hall of Famer, Steve, I'll tell you that what the others don't see is how hard I work in the off season. Because I had asked him, how does it feel by your peers, not by fans, by your peers, to be considered the greatest of all time? And I loved his answer, because he simply said, I'll tell you, what they don't see is how hard I work in the off season, how my father used to throw me bricks. And I mean, not throw them to me, throw them at me. And I would catch them. And when I dropped one, I had to do 10 push-ups and things of that nature. And you go, look, behold your breakfast plate, right? You have eggs and you have bacon. The chicken was involved. The pig was committed. You want to be a pig in any endeavor that you get into. You want to be committed to it, right? And so to hear somebody like a Jerry Rice say, the comfort zone is great. It's great to be in the comfort zone. Who doesn't like being comfortable? But nothing grows there. Nothing. You have to get outside of your comfort zone for growth. Otherwise, you're always going to stay inside that little box and get what you're getting. And if you don't like what you're getting, well, you have 2 choices. Stay there and keep getting it and not liking it and going outside and shaking your fist at the sky and kicking your dog, or you can get outside of that box, try some things new. I love it when people say, I don't like door knocking. Really? You've door knocked? No. God, that's like dealing with my
I just hate when people knock on my door.
Yeah, seriously.
But watch this. And my retort to that is always, be careful, though, splashing your opinion on everybody else.
Right.
Yeah, you don't like that. Man, I totally get it. As a matter of fact, here, everybody around this table, raise your hand if you love it when people come to your door unannounced. I know the listeners can't see this. No one is raising their hand, which keeps my record perfect at 100% of people hate it. So watch this. The key for me and success in door knocking, where that was concerned, and I'm sure that this spreads out over all 7 forms of prospecting, is designing a presentation that is put together to get them back to their life. You want to make it so that when they come to the door, I'm trying to give you your gift, give you a little market knowledge, get you back to your life. I mean, Dave, I've told you before, Marshall, you've probably seen it being out with me, that I've knocked on doors where the mom comes to the door, mom in particular, not Xing out dads, mom comes to the door and has kids hanging on her like Christmas ornaments, dinner's cooking, the phone's ringing, the dog, the pit bull is trying to get past her to eat me, and you have to turn that notepad sideways and get it through there and get the flyer through there and let her know, I get it. I have been there myself and I get it. Here, get back to your life. And so I speed up my presentation, just like with old people when it's, hi, Dave. Hi, Dave. It's Steve.
Wait, why do I got to be the old one?
You really want to talk about that?
Well, it is, but it really is that because I do two things, as you can probably tell at my normal pace of speech. I talk fast and I talk loud. Two things old people hate. So you've got to become a chameleon inside of the business. You have to know who you're dealing with and who you're talking to. And it's the same at open house. Man, you're not going to do this to an old person that walks in your open house. Hi!
Oh, jeez.
Right? You're not going to
scare the crap
you're
out
going to have an ambulance at your open house if you do that. So you got to know your audience and who you're talking to, and all of that comes with God. In the '90s, my brother threw a cassette series in front of me. Cassettes, boy,
Nice.
was that dated.
You just dated yourself.
NLP, neuro-linguistical programming. Dave, you like me probably appreciate a nice warm cup of coffee on a cold day. But what I really said to you there was, Dave, you like me. And you go, learning that was this huge paradigm shift that vaulted me into mega production, because it wasn't just closing, saying words. Anybody can read words. It's how you say them, your voice inflection, the involvement of the other people at the psychological level, not just do I see the light going on in their eyes. It really made a paradigm shift in my business and took me to a whole different level that when I can tell you about leaving the Bay Area and moving to Washington and my son being diagnosed with autism, one of the great ways I got my real estate license there because the costs were exorbitant of his therapy. And I can tell you, I didn't know a single person in the state of Washington, and my very first year there sold $3.6 million worth.
Very nice. I want to stop right there because we're just about out of time. So I want to go ahead and wrap this one up. And then if you would, join us maybe back in the studio tomorrow, and we'll get into Washington and Logan, which is his son, and talk about all those great things you did out in Washington before you came to the great state of Texas. Does that sound good?
They like me. They really like me. They want me back.
I was wondering if you're doing Jedi mind tricks on me right now. That's what I want
I guarantee you he is. I'm sitting over there enamored with him, like, oh gosh, batting my eyelashes. Anyway,
Marshall's like, wait a minute.
Are we going to dinner later?
we need to wrap this up right quick. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsor, Mike Harrell at Guild Mortgage. You can reach any of us at info@realestateontherocks.com. We look forward to the next episode. Listen to us. Remember, 5-star reviews is what is going to make us or break us. So if you like us, show it by giving us a 5-star review. We absolutely appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye, y'all.
I'm out.